Hello guys, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Okay. Yesterday I have discussed up to while loop, right? Sorry, for loop, right? Let me just
Yes, sir.
recap. Yesterday we have started control structures. There are three types of control structures: sequential, selection, and repetition. In repetition, in selection, in sequential, it is just a normal Python programming sequence. In selection and decision or decision, we are having four types: simple if else, nested if else. And in the repetition, we are having a for loop as well as a while loop. So yesterday I have already mentioned there will not be any do while loop in this Python. So yesterday we have used the range function. Let me give you a clear picture of what the range function is. Yesterday I have used it in the for loop, but I have not mentioned in our document. So I have added this part. For loop, if we using the range is a function. It will have three parameters in which one parameter is mandatory to use in the range function. The parameters in the range function are the starting index, the stopping index, there's some stopping point, and the step size. I have also given some examples yesterday, but let us just see some more examples. Is it connected? Okay. So here what I am doing, I have already printed these outputs. Print of range of 20. If I'm not going to give the starting index, or if I'm going to give only one input, the default starting index will be 0, as well as the step size will be 1. Here the default step size will be 1 for a range function. And if I'm using in this manner, I'm going to specify some range of 21. Then the for loop will be iterating, starting with the index value of I is equal to 0 to I is equal to 20. I have just printed them with a comma, separating the comma. 0 to 20. It has printed, the for loop has printed the values from 0 to 20. And next, I'm going to print values in the range of 1 to 20. Here I have specified a starting index. So in my for loop, the starting index for I will be 1. And the ending index will be 20. As I already mentioned, the starting index will be included in the range function, and the ending index is excluded. A number before that will be only included. And if I am going to use the step size also in this fashion, I'm going to mention my starting index, ending index, and step size. If you observe the output, it started from 1 and 2 is not printed here. So there is a step size other than 1, that is 2. It just jumped to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, and so on. All the odd numbers are printed up to 20, as 21 is not included and 20 is not a odd number. Only up to 19 it has printed. And if I'm going to specify, okay, I have used the same example. Fine. If I'm going to indicate my step value as 3, if I use 3 as my step size, then the jump from 1 to 4, there will be 2 values intermediate. The 2 values will be skipped and it will directly jump to 4 and 4 to 7. All these values are that are being assigned to the I value, which we have initialized in our for loop. Okay, this is all about for loop and range function. Yesterday we have also seen these examples. Again, the same example. I have just mentioned this to make you clear that it shows the for loop has ended. And coming to while loop, a while loop are used to execute a block of statements repeatedly until a given condition is satisfied. So it is the general statement for loops. A loop will be executed will be executing a block of statements repeatedly until the given condition is true. So there is some difference between this while loop and for loop. I'll just explain what is while loop. Here what you are doing is, here also you are going to evaluate a expression. If at all the expression is true, the body of while loop will be executed, and again it goes to check the expression. If it is false, the while loop will be exited and this loop is terminated. This is just a simple while loop, and the syntax for while loop will be, we have to use some keyword called as while, and in parenthesis we are having a text expression or the conditional expression followed by a colon and some indentation. Coming to the for loop, we need to mention some range using the range function, and we need to specify some variable I. This is a variable which keeps changing for every iteration. Here if you observe, the while loop, the for loop has executed for 20 times 1 to 20. The while loop, the for loop has executed 1 to 20 times because we have mentioned it to execute only up to 20 times. And the difference between this while loop and for loop is, whenever we know how many times to repeat a particular loop, then we will be using for loop. And if you are not sure how many times a loop should be repeated, then we will be using while loop. So in this case, I have taken some 20. I'm restricting it to 20 itself. But while using a while loop, we need to have a additional parameter that here I'm using an additional parameter called y. So based on this y, I will terminate this while loop. Here the condition I'm mentioning is, while some I less than or equal to 20, I'm printing the value of I is starting from 1. Initially the while loop prints 1 and it increases the value of 1. I is equal to I plus 1. This indicates I is equal to I plus 1. That is a shorthand notation I already mentioned. This is I is equal to I plus 1. And again it goes to while loop, checks for the condition. If I is less than or equal to 20, it print all the values. As 2 is also equal to or less than 20, 2 is also printed. Similarly with all these, 20 is also equal to less than or equal to 20. So 20 is also printed. Again, after this, the value of I will be 21. When it goes to the while condition, 21 less than or equal to 20, the condition fails. So while loop terminates. This is all about while loop. Let us see another example. So here I am interested to add few natural numbers up to n values, given n values. Here what I am doing is, I'm going to take a input n, whatever n may be any value, and I'm going to calculate the sum. Let me say sum of natural numbers. Here I have given 5 as the input and I have got 15 as the output. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 gives me the output 15. It is very simple that to do this program, initially I am interested to calculate the sum. So I need to call for a variable called sum. I need to just initialize the variable called sum with a value 0. And as I am using while loop in this program, I also need to have a initializing variable I, so that when the condition for this I fails, the while loop gets terminated. So I am initializing the while loop with I is equal to 1 value. And how many times we are going to execute this while loop, we are not very much sure about it. Whatever the n value, that many times this while loop will be executed. I less than or equal to n is the condition, followed by a colon. And here what the operation I'm doing is, I'm going to add sum. The sum already has a value of 0. Previous sum 0 plus I. Initially I value is 1. It is added to 1. Now sum becomes 1 and I is incremented. So whenever we increment I by 1 or any variable by 1, we call it as increment. Or they have just mentioned it is a update counter. So now the value of I becomes 2 and it again goes into the while loop, checks for the condition 2 less than or equal to some value n. Let me say n is 5, 2 less than or equal to 5. Condition is true. Previously, the sum value is 1. The 1 is added to value I, which is 2. 1 plus 2, 3. The sum value will be 3. So, for your clear understanding, I'll show you the execution part also. Let me say I give a input 10. The first statement declares me to give a input. I'm giving 10 as input and it has given me the sum of first 10 numbers 1 to 10. That is 55. You can also use a formula n into n plus 1 by 2 to print the sum of n natural numbers. So I'm not very much pretty sure whether you have understood each execution line. Let me just print the value for every iteration. Sum is equal to some value and I value is equal to format of sum comma I. Now let us just see the output. Let me just give 5. So now here you can understand. Initially, I have initialized my value sum to 0 and I is initially having a value of 1. So when I am going to the for loop 1 less than or equal to given value 5, the condition is true. What happens is sum is equal to sum plus 1 means 0 plus 1. So sum will be 1. So when I have printed the sum value here, the value of sum is 1 and I value is 1. It is not yet incremented. Next, what I am going to do is increment the I value. I is equal to I plus 1. Now I becomes 2. Again, it goes to while loop 2 less than or equal to 5. Condition is true. What it does is sum is equal to the sum value previously is 1 plus the I value is 2. 1 plus 2, 3. Now, if you print for the sum value, the sum will be 3. And again, the I value is incremented here. It becomes 3. Next, I 3 less than or equal to 5. The condition is true. Sum is equal to previously it was 3 and now the I value is 3. 3 plus 3, 6. So the sum will be 6 and the value is again incremented to 4. Similarly, the following for the while loop is iterated for 5 times. As I've used a condition I less than or equal to some n value and given n value is 5. It has iterated n times and gave me the value 15, which is the sum of first 5 natural numbers. Hope this example is clear. Is it fine?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Yesterday I gave a few programs, right? Did anyone try to solve them? No, no one. At least one program. Oh, it seems that your people haven't tried. Okay. But at least did you see the questions?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Can you say?
Started from the day one. I start practicing from the day one class, bro. Like
Okay.
P is equal, A is equal to F, A apple is equal to fruit, A is equal to 1, A is equal to 10. We did, right?
Yes.
So I started from the starting. So that's why I didn't did yesterday's one, because I didn't practice till today. Today only I started practicing. I got a time. So
Okay.
I'm still
Fine.
practicing from the day one class. So that's why I didn't do.
Okay. Okay. Can you just say the first question? Can someone say the first question that I have given?
Yesterday's question or
Yesterday's. I have given a PDF, right?
yeah, 1 second.
Python program to convert kilometers into miles, sir.
Kilometers to miles, right?
Miles.
Okay. No problem. I'll be explaining so that you can practice some other problems. You can just Google for other problems or I'll be sending some other questions so that you can solve them. I'll just introduce you with a new platform for the coding. First, I would like to introduce with the basic offline compilation. Here I am using a Linux as my operating system. So this is in this format, and it is a Ubuntu version. So the programs which I have previously discussed was in the Google Collaboratory. If at all you don't have Google Collaboratory, it's not like having, you are just Googling it in the Chrome, and Google is free, offering you at a free of cost, you can use it. Or I'll just like to show in offline manner. That means there is no requirement for internet. How to do a Python program using files. First of all, I need to create a new document, and I would like to name some document. First one is kilometers to miles, right? I'll mention in the same fashion, and I need to use an extension called as py, right? This is the file name for Python programming. I need to use an extension called .py for the file, and if I open it, it's nothing. There is nothing in the file. So first, what I am interested to do is write a program to convert kilometers to miles. This is the program. So to solve this, we just need to know a simple logic, that is, I'll mention it. One mile is equal to 1.60934 kilometers, and 1 kilometer is equal to 0.6214 miles. This is the logic. If I am having a 1 kilometer, then it is 0.6214 miles. If at all I am having 2 kilometers, 2 into 0.6214 miles. This is just the logic. Let me take a static input, dynamic input. Take a input comment. I am just commenting so that you can clearly understand. What I need to do, I'll declare a variable called as km, which is equal to input. We use input to take the inputs, right? Input function. What I say, enter a value, and it enters, it asks for a value. Here I am going to take input. Next, what I am interested to do is, I am interested to convert these kilometers into miles. Before converting these kilometers into miles, previously I have told that whenever we are using input as our keyword and taking an input, it will be in the format of string. The type of this kilometer will be string. So I need to convert this string into some integer or floating point value. As I may give some floating point values also for these kilometers, let me convert it into float. So here what it does is, it converts the given input into a type of float. Now if I perform an operation, miles is equal to given kilometers into 0.6214. Now whatever a given kilometers, it converts into miles, and let us just print it. I'll be using a print function to print this, and I'll use some format specifiers. Given some kilometers, I don't know, kilometers is equal to some parameter miles. Here we call them as placeholders. These flower brackets are called as placeholders, and I'll use a format expression, dot format expression. Here I am mentioning kilometers, comma, miles, and it gives me the output. I am saving this file, and I am opening a terminal. In Ubuntu, we call it as a terminal. Coming to Windows, we call it as console. If I open my terminal, it shows me like this. I hope it is visible. Now I need to change my directory. I have created this file on the desktop, and To run this program, first of all, I need to mention Python space and the file name. File name I kept kilometers to underscore miles dot py. This is the file names I have kept for it. Yes, the program has been executed successfully and it is asking me for the value. Let me say 6 and it is giving me the output. 6 kilometers is equal to 3.7284 miles. If I run the program and give 1 kilometer, it just gives the value 1 kilometer is equal to 0.6214 miles. If I enter 100, it will give the value for 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers is equal to 622.14 miles. This is the first problem. It is very simple. Here, the only thing you need to know is the logic. This is the logic, simple. Hope you have understood. Here I have taken a dynamic input. I have converted its type and I have printed it using a format, placeholders, etc. Is it fine?
Bro, I have one question.
Okay.
How can we remember which input we have to take, which kind of inputs we have to put for this? How we have to know at which place we have to keep these inputs?
I didn't understand your question.
No, bro. Here you said like you are taking the dynamic input and here you are taking the flower brackets, right? So
Yes.
how we have to remember all this? How we have to know which inputs we have to take and how we have to open where we have to keep these flower brackets and all this?
So no one says when to use them or when not to use them. It is just our interest. Suppose here I am not interested to take a dynamic input. I didn't mention anything like you need to take only dynamic input. You can just take something like this. I have taken 5 km is equal to kilometers and we'll be running the program again. Desktop. Desktop. And if it is just okay. Previously I haven't saved the file. It just gave me the value of 5 kilometers in miles. So here I am interested to print my outputs in this fashion. So I have just used all this format or placeholders, etc. If you are not interested, just print miles.
Okay.
Directly gives me the value. Okay, actually I do not have power and there is no power in my laptop. I'll just continue the remaining programs in the next class. Hope it is fine.
Oh yeah, okay, bro.
Okay, sir.
So today this class is end for now.
Yes, today it will be ended for now. I do not have power actually from so long time. So it is only
okay, bro, no problem.
I cannot continue. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Okay, sir.
meanwhile time we will practice the yesterday's work. We will practice the previous work.
Yeah, you just go through the whole topics and also try to solve